you about to marry a Japanese person, this is what they're not going to tell you. So in this video, let's talk about, or rather I wanted to share with you, because it is the never-ending funeral in Japan. There's so much information out here about Japan, and people tell you what it's like to live here. People will try to tell you what it's like to, the food is like, what the environment is like, how people are going to react to you. But like I said in my Black in Japan video, your experience is your experience. People are going to react totally differently to you depending on how you look, where you are. There's so many variables, your disposition, whether you can speak or not, so there's so many variables. But one thing that's pretty common is because of the, the cultural norms is the funeral situation, which is the funeral, it doesn't end here. Once you have, let's use great-grandfather. Once your great-grandfather passes on, they go back to the ethers, you have a funeral, right? There's like a wake situation. You view the body's prepared. This I wasn't prepared for. Well, I'm talking about, this is not necessarily in every single solitary Japanese home. It's never going to be like that no matter where you go, because people have variations of the culture. People have strayed from culture. And then you got to remember that Japan is more than just one island. It's more than Tokyo. So people have variations, but I'm sure it's, pretty different, because like some people will cremate, some people will bury. Okay, you know where I'm going with this. Anyway, I'm telling you about my experience. Okay, so let me tell you. Grandfather, he sat in front of the Butsudan overnight. One of the cousins stayed with the body. I wasn't cool with that. I was just walking past it, going to the bathroom, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That freaked me out. I was like, dude, this is kind of creepy. Like, he can't stay in the funeral home. And they're like, no, he lived here. He's going to keep living here. I was like, but he's not living. So why is he here? Okay. Completely disrespectful and ignorant, but it freaked me out. What can I do? So the next day, the funeral directors, the priests, everybody came and got grandfather. They took him to the place where we were going to have the funeral. They did all of the, the praying, the saying the prayers, and the family came around and they put flowers on the body and all of those things. Then they took him to another place to cremate him. All of these things are pretty much regular that you would know of if you're going to cremate. Now, this is where it got a little creepy. When we cremated grandfather, they showed, we were standing there as they shoved his body into the crematorium, into the actual oven. And I'm like, yo, that's a little, that it got creepier. Then the ashes came out, and you could you could take chopsticks and pick through the bones. I was like, dude, I'm not, like, why no. Okay. Creepiness does not end. So after that, you eat, kind of like a repast. If you're West Indian, you know about the repast. There is a series, I'm trying to remember, sorry. There's a series of different times where the priest will pop up periodically. So like and this depends on your culture as well. So every 30 days he'll come, every week he'll come, every 2 weeks he'll come. Like these random periodic times where he'll pop up. Now you can go and research and find all of the technical aspects and names of what I'm saying to you. The reason I'm sharing it with you is because you're here to get experience. Like I said, we're not doing an academic channel. I barely have 2 brain cells to even share with you guys, but I wanted to share with you what it feels like. Anybody can read, but what it feels like to be in that situation. So as the priest keeps popping up, I'm like, it's 7 o'clock at night. I'm trying to take a bath. And, I don't want to make it seem like, I'm this uncompassionate person who doesn't care for the culture or doesn't understand the culture, and that it was this huge burden on me. But you have to understand that I have 3 small children, you know, so I'm not just, it's not just me and my husband and we're doing this, you know, the living in Japan thing. I'm running a household, and to deal with the culture shock of running a household, I'm still newly married as well. So I'm running a household. I'm newly married. There's all of this culture shock going on. Then grandfather passes. So I'm having to, you know, work all of these things into my psychology of the days and the weeks and the months, right? So then after a month goes by, I realized that I'm like, oh great, ooh, that was a lot, girl, thank you, oh yay, high five. And they're like, no, the Butsudan stays open and the priest will be back next year. And I'm like, what? So basically, you are continuing to pay tribute to your ancestors. And this is something that after that year passed, that's when it clicked for me. And I said, wow, this is African. This is going back into my Akashic records. And now this is triggering something, because that ancestor worship spoke to me and I really got something out of that. So yeah, that's what it is. It's ancestor worship. And I got to see how we would bring fruit and manju and, you know, various things to the Butsudan, the altar, and put it there. I got to see how throughout the year we would, you know, ring the bell, say a prayer, you know, periodically, and just, you know, pay tribute to grandfather, you know, thank him for all of his hard work, hope he's doing well in the ethers, all of that stuff. And it was just, it's absolutely magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent to witness and experience something like that. So a year passes and it's still not over. We have not even put him in the haka yet. We have not put his headstone up, and we have not put his ashes in the headstone. So now, which is what is it, 1 month ago, a year and a month ago, right? We go out to the cemetery, right? And we have this beautiful headstone set up, and there's this, you know, the priest comes again, there's a ceremony, the family members come, there's flowers, there's incense, all of those things. And now we put his ashes into the headstone. Creepiness is not over yet. How do we put his ashes into the headstone? With our hands. My head almost popped off. I was like, yo, I didn't even know him like that. I just came here. I'll let you do it. You know, and they're like, pick them ashes up and put them in that headstone. And I was like, yes, sir. So my father-in-law was like, all right, I'll help you. And at first I thought he meant like he'll take his hand and do it for me. He sticks my hand in the ashes, and I pick up my great grandfather-in-law's ashes and I put them in the headstone. Girl, if you about to marry a Japanese person, this is what they're not going to tell you. You gonna put them ashes in that haka. So I was like, this is real wild. Like I was, you know, like a year ago, I was like, yeah, ancestor worship, that's right, back to my roots, that African. Then you put the ashes. So let's wrap this video up. What have we learned here? Nobody can tell you every aspect of the culture. I don't care how many books you read. I don't care how many people you know. Even if you watch all of my YouTube videos for the next 10 years about how wild things are for me here, you will never know what it's like until you experience it. So I am welcoming you to Japan. And if you are interested in learning more about Japan, I would say that the best thing you can do is come here to visit. And I'll see you in the next video.